Hey guys, how's it going? Hope everybody's having a wonderful day, wonderful week. Hopefully everything's going well. I know it's been a while. It's been like 6 months since I published my last video. Um, to be honest with you, I really thought I was going to be able to post a lot more and play with my tractor a little more, but well, life kind of gets in the way. I have a job that requires me to travel quite often, and especially the second half of last year got very busy for me. I spent months and months on the road. I also have a wife and two kids and a life, and so sometimes it's hard to find time to play with my tractor and work on these videos. But what I have out here for you today is kind of a fun project that I got to do. It's actually spreading dirt for a foundation for my brother-in-law and his family. It was a really fun project. It was my second time spreading dirt or moving dirt in any way with this tractor or any other piece of machinery. So um, as you'll um, as you'll see, not very proficient. It was not very fast, but at the end we got the job done, and I think the result was pretty good. So anyway, to over the course of this, I probably recorded, not probably, I recorded over 5 hours of video, and even within it being sped up and cutting out a lot of just fluff, we still ended up with over an hour of video footage. So I'm gonna break this video up in two parts, and this first part I'm kind of going to cover a little bit about how we got here, why we're building this foundation, and then touch a little bit on the how-to of a foundation build and setting up the foundation, some of the things I learned doing this job, and then the second part of this video is just going to kind of tie up some of my thoughts on building the foundation, some of the things that I learned, as well as give you some of my feedback on the tractor and how it did. I'm approaching 100 hours on this machine. I had my first service, and so I want to do a separate video with 100 hour review once I hit that number. But I wanted to specifically touch base on how this tractor did in this specific application. It's kind of a unique job where you want something that's big enough to move the dirt around, to be able to pick up large quantities of dirt and spread it and not get bogged down. Also something that's heavy enough to be able to compact the dirt as it goes along, but also something that's small enough to maneuver around various delicate material, around block wall without hitting it. So anyway, that's going to be coming up in the second part, the part 2 of this video. So where we're starting up here, it's actually, I'm working right along with the stonemason. So that we have I'm not sure what the proper name is, but there's a gentleman that my brother-in-law hired to lay down the brick wall, and I'm coming into this project about a day or two behind him. Okay, so to kind of build build a little bit of background of just we have to back up all the way to December of 2021. I got a call from my brother-in-law and his wife, who we love them very dearly, and they lived across country, and we got to see them periodically, but not as often as we wanted to. And during that phone call, he told me that him and his wife both got um, jobs out here close to us in Florida, and they were thinking about moving in, and asked if they could stay with us until they could figure things out and settle in and kind of go from there. So me and my wife were stoked. We were super excited. A few weeks later, it was literally that fast. A few weeks went by, and they moved in with us. And as things kind of started getting ironed out, um, my father-in-law actually decided to cut off a partial of his part of the land and sell it to them to build a home. And that was great. And that was exciting, to have, you know, the idea is to have basically my mother and father-in-law, me and my wife, and our kids, and my brother and sister-in-law, all kind of in the same chunk of land, living together, letting our kids grow up, and we were all super excited for it. So, kind of once we figured out the property lines, we started clearing the land, trying to prep the site for home building. That included, clearing out some of the brush, clearing out some of the trees that were in the way. After that came, the thing about clearing out trees is, unlike with just clearing land for the purposes of, just having a field or, anything like that, when you build a foundation for a home or a building, it's very important to take all the vegetation out. So we took out all the roots, we rented an excavator, and that created some holes in the ground. So then we brought in a little dirt to fill in those holes and kind of start building up the foundation, and primarily filling in some of those holes. And that kind of where things were put on hold. We were faced with some of the very unusual setbacks. At first, we thought that those setbacks would just set us back for, some of it is going to be a formality that will set us back maybe a few weeks, maybe a month, but not without going into all the details. Some of the permits took almost 6 months to get, and at the time it felt very frustrating and very discouraging for everybody, for especially for my brother and sister-in-law, but for us, we planned to share a home for about a year, and now everything getting dragged out for unknown period of time. It was just kind of a tough period of time for all of us, but at the end of 2022, my brother-in-law finally received his permits, and that's where this video kind of picks up, is where the build resumed, and where we started pouring footers and started building out the foundation for the house. So anyway, that's kind of the background on what I'm doing here, and this is definitely a job. This is something that my brother-in-law is paying me to do. I'm not charging him a lot of money, because first of all I am learning, but also because family. But also it is a job. It is something that I'm taking seriously, and want to make sure that I do a good job, and for them. Ultimately we'll want to build them a good foundation. So that kind of leads us into part two of what I wanted to talk about, is kind of the building of the home foundation. So one thing you'll notice that, some of you keen-eyed viewers may notice that it's not, this foundation is not like your typical foundation, depending on where you are, where you're located in the world, or part of the United States you're located in. Most times when a home foundation is being built, it's being dug down into the ground. The foundation then poured, then the block walls are raised up to ground level, and the lower level becomes a basement, and the higher level becomes your first floor. The plumbing is then run into the basement, routed between the floor joist, and then routed outside the house. But where we live in Florida, that's not a common practice to build a home like that. Fun fact about Florida, the highest peak in Florida is 345 feet. So, an average elevation is about 100 feet above sea level. And so when you live in a place that is so close to sea level and just has so much moisture, regular hurricanes coming through here, the homes have to build different. Because of that, the home foundations in Florida, in the coastal areas, in the areas that are prone to flooding, are built up instead of being dug out. Starts with prepping the land. I briefly touched on clearing some of the brush, some of the larger trees. This step is very, very important. Because especially if this is somebody like a contractor that's building a home, it's one of the things that you got to look out for is how well the ground is being prepped. Technically, you could get away with a lot of things. You can get away with just kind of cutting the tree down low, maybe stump grinding it. It certainly is a lot less labor intensive than what we did, which is what we cut down the trees and then rented an excavator and actually extracted all of the roots out of the ground. And the reason why we did that is because long term, as years go by, any kind of vegetation in the ground is going to deteriorate. It's going to slowly become eaten away by bacteria and living organisms, and as that process of decay happens, it creates a void. Well, the earth, the home that's built on top of it, settles. And I'm sure if you've seen some older homes, sometimes you see major cracks that go not only through drywall, but they go into the floor and they go across the home. And what it is, it's basically just a home settling into those voids. And there's almost always, a certain amount of settling that happens. But the better this first step is done, the better the more vegetation you remove from the dirt, from your prep area, the more vegetation you remove from your fill dirt that you bring in. Sometimes there's roots that are mixed into it. The better, the stronger the foundation is going to be, and the less settling that you will experience as the years go on. So once all the vegetation, organic material is removed from above and below the ground, we brought in the fill dirt to fill the voids, excavated root systems, and also to start kind of building up that foundation. Like I said, we do get a lot of rain out here, and so that step is necessary to kind of make sure that you're not fighting Mother Nature, because Mother Nature always wins. And so by raising up the ground just a little bit, it directs water away from the house and into kind of dedicated water lines that we have throughout the property to divert it off into those lines. So Once we spread the fill dirt, uh, that's when the whole holdup happened with the permits, and we waited for almost 6 months. And I mentioned already that it was kind of a very frustrating time, but honestly, looking back on it, it was probably the best thing that could have happened. And it was not the original plan, but it was definitely what some people would call a blessing in disguise. The reason why is because once again, the building the foundation is probably one of the most important things you can do for a house, and by letting that foundation settle for 6 months, not only we did a good job prepping the dirt and removing all the vegetation, but also allowed the dirt that we brought in to settle, as the rain washes away some of the stuff and gets a chance to penetrate into the ground. It really allows, that ground is like rock solid, and so the 6 months made a huge difference in how well compacted and how well settled the foundation has become. Once the process restarted, we dug out the footer, where you basically lay out kind of string and figure out the layout of the house, the outside exterior footer. We dug it out by hand. Me, my brother-in-law, and my father-in-law basically just used shovels to excavate, the exterior footer of the house, and then once that was completed, there's certain inspections that go through. They poured the foundation, and that's actually where the video begins. So the video is kind of picking up as I'm kind of starting to play with the tractor. I'm bringing in some they brought in a few loads of fill dirt, spread it throughout the about 10 loads of dirt altogether, about 6 loads of dirt inside the perimeter of the footer, and another 4 loads of dirt on the outside. And I'm working about a day or two behind of a gentleman that's doing the block wall. So the block wall that you see raised up around is basically is sitting on top of the footer that's been dug out, and it's basically just a cement blocks with hollowed out points in the middle, and they're laid up and raised up, I think 3 levels high. It all depends on your plans, whatever plans for the home that you and the requirements for the area that you live in. But basically, once the block wall is raised up, then that I started. It was actually mostly raised up. I came in and started spreading the loads of dirt on the interior of the footer, and started spreading out that dirt and building out the foundation. Because one of the things you'll notice in this video is that because that I'm moving kind of slow. Now, there's a lot of reasons for it. One is I will first admit I'm very inexperienced. This is my second time spreading dirt ever with or doing any kind of dirt work with any kind of equipment. So there's definitely that's part of the equation. The second is I was working around this finished block that's been just barely had a chance to settle in. A lot of times in some of the parts of the wall, you'll see the wall is not raised up, or I'm working around the wall that's just been raised a few hours prior, and any kind of bump, any kind of if I'm not careful about where I'm putting dirt or how hard I'm putting it in, how hard I'm dumping it, it could all affect I could totally see it knocking a block wall out, a piece of block out, and then it would just create more delays. And after all the delays that my brother-in-law and and my sister-in-law have went through. I definitely did not want to do that. So, in the military, there is a saying that slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and that's kind of what I was aiming for, is hopefully by taking my time and making sure that I don't damage anything, that we'll be able to stay on track and not it'll end up being faster being faster at the end. Another thing that you'll notice over here, so the third reason for why I was moving kind of meticulous is I was very careful not to drop any dirt into the footer. That's actually not into the footer, into the block wall. This one is quite interesting. So especially up here, as you see me dropping dirt from the outside over the edge, it's very easy to let the dirt fall into those cracks if you're not careful, if you're not far enough in, or if you dump it too hard. And some of you may look at it and say, well, what's the big deal? I mean, they're basically inside that block wall. Like I said, there's crevices and openings. And those openings go overlap, and they go all the way down to the footer. And so if you do drop some dirt in there, really most likely nobody's going to see it, unless you just pack it full of dirt. But one interesting thing about building the foundation, especially the way we're doing it here, is that you really do not want absolutely any dirt in that block wall. And that was actually the way that came about, is back in the day, when home builders were building these homes, in order to save money and save money on the cement, what they would do is they would fill up, some of the contractors, some of the shadier contractors would actually fill up those blocks, part of the way up or almost all the way up with dirt. And what it would do is basically allow them to put less concrete, which concrete is expensive, a lot more expensive than the dirt. And they would be able to save a little bit of money that way. But what they found out is that it actually weakens the foundation drastically. So the idea behind what we're doing is, and the idea behind not letting any dirt fall into those cracks and extracting whatever little dirt that gets in there, is once everything is prepped, once everything is level, and you are ready, the plumbing is done, and you're ready to pour that top level layer of concrete, top layer of cement over the top. That cement would be dropped on top. It would spread. It would go to the edges of that block wall, and if you notice, the top level on the inside is cut out to make it a little bit lower than, so interior edge of the top layer of block wall is cut a little bit lower than the one that's facing the outside. Once that cement is poured, it will work its way down those openings in the cement block all the way down to the footer, and once it dries, it will actually create one solid piece of cement going all the way down from the footer to your block, interconnected by that concrete all the way into the top layer of the foundation. And what happens is, if you put any kind of dirt in there, that cement will not be able to go all the way down to the footer, and it will not have a chance to create that one solid piece. It'll be basically a void or a block in there. It's definitely it was something that I was paying a lot of attention to. It's something that I really, really, really wanted to avoid, and so that was a third reason for kind of taking my time and really being very careful, especially as I'm working around the edges. In the middle, I was able to kind of just muscle, you let the tractor muscle its way through a lot of the stuff. But once I got to the edges, I really was careful not to break anything, and to make sure that I don't get absolutely any dirt in there, and preserve the integrity of the foundation. So with all of that out of the way, basically the main idea behind here is to spread the dirt level, or just above the top level of the edge of top edge of the block layer. At the end of each day, this is something I did during my Christmas vacation. So basically worked on it back to back all those days, and at the end of each day, I would come in and I would just drive my tractor back and forth, to try to compact that dirt a little bit with my tractor. And once all of that was done, you get in the what we did is we dug out the plumbing, and once the plumbing was inspected and everything was reburied, and you use a temper and do a final compaction of the dirt, and make sure that the foundation is nice and level and compacted and all the air pockets are out of it. And then you basically you pour the concrete over that, and like I said, just let it spread and make sure it's all ties in together. Yeah, so that's basically the idea on what we did here, kind of the why we did it, how we did it. Okay guys, so we have about 3 days worth of spreading dirt here, and it's not full days, but just wanted to stop for a little bit and show you guys what we have here. So majority of the dirt has been spread. The main foundation of the house is here. The dirt has been spread. We've leveled it pretty good. This is the garage area, so this is actually going to be lower than the main house, and that's about as high as the dirt is going to go. So we're finishing up with leveling the dirt. This is the opening that we left out for the tractor to drive in and out of the foundation, so we can spread it. I think probably one of the most impressive parts of this whole project was actually the beginning. So what we started with is about 6 loads of dirt like that, spread out throughout the foundation, the main portion of the foundation. And unfortunately I wasn't able to capture it on camera, but the tractor did very good navigating tight spots. It's honestly ended up being just the right size for this job, where it was small enough to fit in the small spaces in between the the piles of dirt, and kind of make a path for itself, but also was big enough to where it's 60-inch bucket, so you can carry quite a bit of dirt around. As you can see, the dirt is nice and level. Majority of the dirt on the inside came from those loads of dirt that were inside, but then we came back in and dumped a little bit of dirt over the edges to kind of finish things off. We still have a couple more loads of dirt up here. I'm going to spread it for my brother, and we're going to clean this area up, cover it up, make a nice grade. That's going to be coming in the videos soon. This is a little porch, so it's going to be sitting a little lower. Once the brick is done, we will finish back in the dirt in here. But overall, I think it's looking pretty good. As you'll see in the video, I'm not very
efficient with this yet. This was my second time moving the dirt around, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of techniques. I've learned a lot of interesting things about it. My tractor, what it can do, what it can't do, and yeah, overall I'm very, very happy. So this is not the final product, but I will record the video of it once it's all finished. But I wanted to get a document kind of a midway point and show where we're at.